Hey everyone, Sports Talk Bears, like and subscribe if you will. We have a new contender that might be exactly what we need for the Chicago Bears. We have another offensive coordinator candidate. He's confirmed to be interviewed in the near future here at Hallis Hall, and his name's Clint Kubiak. You guys know who he is. He's a really intriguing name for the Bears offensive coordinator job, and he might be exactly what we need. I'm going to be objective here, though. I'm going to save my opinion for a little later in this story, but let's outline who he is and what he's done in the league. Right now, it's between Shane Waldron. I'm incredibly high on him so far. You guys know that if you watched yesterday's show. I love how he was instrumental in developing Geno Smith into a Pro Bowler, and Kubiak's the other name so far for this job. What I like is that the Bears are acting quickly here. That is so good to see. And we know his pedigree, but let me refresh you. His father, Gary, he was the true innovator behind the offenses ran by Sean McVay, Matt LaFleur, Kyle Shanahan, et cetera, et cetera. You could say that he's like one of the trunks of this coaching team, if you will, this coaching tree, if you will, excuse me. He took West Coast concepts and he formed them into the shell, particularly around the running game, that so many teams run and use in the modern game. He's just an incredible football mind. Clint, obviously, he has his own unique twists on some of those same concepts that his father championed and innovated, and he wasn't bad. He wasn't bad his lone year as offensive coordinator. He did okay. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree is what I'm saying. There's a definite reason why he's so highly thought of in league circles. And ESPN's Jeremy Fowler, he reported that the Bears definitely plan to interview San Francisco 49ers passing game coordinator Clint Kubiak for their offensive coordinator position. The interview will take place. Let me get rid of this. So here's my fear. Here's my fear when faced with the prospect of hiring Kubiak. Bears Network, they voiced this feeling on Twitter, and it's almost like they read my mind. Let me read this. This is what they posted. This feels a lot like a situation Luke Getsy was in, hiding behind a talented quarterback. They're talking about Brock Purdy in San Francisco, with good weapons, along with a great offensive head coach. Gives me some weird vibes. Sound like a familiar situation? San Francisco, they just have superior talent across the board, and make no mistake here. Shanahan, he's the one who calls this offense. He's the pilot of the ship here. Incredible weapons, a seemingly very efficient QB in Brock Purdy. He is fantastic, and it's a product of the same coaching tree. The coaching tree that many times, what do teams do? They blindly grasp at it. They hope to hire the right branch. They hope that this branch will save their offense, and it doesn't always work out. We found that out with Getsy, right? It does not always work out. But the biggest problem, only 1 year calling plays, having the full keys to the offense, and it did not last long. Granted, let's look at it. It was the last year of Coach Zimmer in Minnesota. He was fired and likely his dismissal. It's just what happens, right? The head coach is fired. The whole staff is fired. It might not be totally based on his performance. Zimmer was out. But still, once again, just 1 full year calling an offense. We can't deal with this. We can't deal with the coach growing into his shoes here. Even though I'm sure he's brilliant, I'm not so sure that's what we need right now. It honestly feels so similar to the Getsy hiring. Hear me out. Under a fantastic coach, under a fantastic offensive mind, lying too, by the way. LaFleur, he's pretty great, although it pains me. It pains me to say anything good about the team that shall not be named. But LaFleur, he is a fantastic offensive coach. Very little play calling experience coupled with head coaching aspirations, which I'm sure he has. I greatly prefer Waldron so far, but you know what? Let's keep going. Maybe the rest of this can change my mind. I don't know. Let's continue to dig into it. So as we are talking about, he previously served as quarterbacks coach under Mike Zimmer, just like I went through. Let's be more specific about his offensive play calling experience, the results, and what led to the advancement. It's not a perfect Getsy comparison either. I'm going to be honest about that. It's obvious. This is where I point out that Kubiak has been an offensive coordinator once in his career. He held it down in that spot for the Vikings in 2021. When Kubiak when he was the OC in Mike Zimmer's last year as Minnesota's head coach. Let's look at the results. Okay, you ready? It's going to be a lot of numbers. That season, that one season that he was offensive coordinator, the Vikings were 14th in scoring. That's about 25 points a game, and 12th in total yards. The offense ranked as 11th most passing yard team, ninth most touchdown passes, the fewest interceptions in the league, though. I absolutely love that. That's a really good thing. He was an integral part of Kirk Cousins developing into a great QB. And there are also parallels to draw between him and our QB coach that we just fired, their work with Cousins during his development. If we were so impressed by that, though, why did we fire Janico? Seems counterintuitive to go back to the same well, but let's continue. So we've got 14th in scoring, 12th in total yards, 11th most passing yards, and 17th in rushing yardage. Add to that the 5th fewest rushing touchdowns. That's not a great sign. That's not a great stat, but I don't think that's a great measurement of the effectiveness of an offense. Rushing TDs, as you know, they can be fickle. What I would rely more on is the total scoring ranking, which in this case is 14th. So, okay, lots of numbers, but what does this tell us? It's a net positive, but it's nothing that blows our skirts up, right? I don't think it's enough in a limited sample size to move us forward, taking a chance on this inexperienced coach calling plays. One thing I love, though, the Bears, they're getting right on the hot candidates immediately. This is fantastic. We are moving hard and pursuing guys. Kubiak. He went on to spend one season as a QB coach and passing game coordinator under Nathaniel Hackett in Denver, and then he took a job with the 49ers as passing game coordinator this year. Clint Kubiak, he's in his first season as the 49ers offensive passing game specialist. He joined the 49ers after spending the 2022 season with the Denver Broncos once again as the team's offensive passing game coordinator and quarterbacks coach. But there's that title again. Okay, wait a minute. Let's look at that title. Let's look at the 2022 Broncos. They are led by quarterback Russell Wilson, his first year in Denver. He completed 292 passes on 483 attempts for 3,500 yards roughly and 16 touchdowns in, once again, his first year with the team after being traded from Seattle. Guys, if you remember, this Denver team, the first year getting Russell Wilson, it looked like a dumpster fire. It really looked like a dumpster fire. Inefficient, disjointed, unorganized. Add your own adjective here. Many attributed this to Coach Hackett, but the position of passing game coordinator, the position of quarterbacks coach, that bears a ton of responsibility too. This is a team that, remember, it had fans actually calling out the play clock, counting it down as a chant. I've never seen this before, to sarcastically help them get the ball snapped without getting a delay of game penalty. It was crazy. Not to mention, Wilson, if you watched any of their games, he looked totally lost in the offense. He looked totally unprepared. It was awful to watch. It was terrible football. We got to get this right. I'm super hesitant to support this. I'm super hesitant to support hiring someone with that much responsibility from a team that looked just overmatched offensively, even to the untrained eye, and it wasn't more than a year ago. Also, let's look at more production. Third-year wide receiver Jerry Jeudy, he finished the season with team highs in receptions, 67. That's not great. Receiving yards, 972, and receiving touchdowns, 6. That's still not a great selling point that this was their best wide receiver effort. It's not great, but being part of the Kyle Shanahan tree, it has its perks. Good things going for him. Clint should be well-versed in productive offenses and the Shanahan-style scheme that some of the league's best offenses are running successfully these days. That's a true thing. Plus, we will actually be interviewing someone who has had a hand in turning Brock Purdy into a viable MVP candidate. If you remember, about a month ago, he was second to Lamar Jackson in MVP voting, and that's a really good thing. But the Bears, we need to get the quarterback position right. It makes sense that Clint Kubiak, he's on the list, but here's my last issue. Kubiak, he took over as the 49ers passing game coordinator this season after Bobby Slowick left to become the Houston Texans offensive coordinator. Great success there. They have a great offense. But if he was ready for this job, why didn't the 49ers just hire him to the OC position? Why didn't they do that? These guys, their dads worked together. They must have known each other their whole lives, known each other so well. Why wasn't he just given the OC job? That's a question. If the 49ers didn't do it, if they didn't think he was ready for it, why should we as Chicago Bears? My take on his candidacy, and if you hear me out, I'm sure that he's brilliant. I'm sure at some point he'll be an amazing OC and we'll say, wow, I wish we had him. I just think it's a little too early in his career. And as we are rapidly getting a very competitive roster, give us one more offseason, be patient, lots of fun to be had in the next few months. I just don't think we can wait for him. I don't think we can wait for him to mature as a play caller and be ready. So I think so far with the candidates presented, I am going with Shane Waldron all the way as my top choice. I am out on Kubiak. So let me know what you think. I'm sure I don't have to tell you to let me know what you think. You've been doing that readily and you've been doing it really well. So I appreciate that. I'll just see you in the comments. Bear down and let me know what you think of Kubiak. And if you don't like Kubiak, who's your favorite candidate that we can go out and interview? Bear down. I'll see you soon.